Yeah, it'll be an interesting one, and if, in my opinion, Marbles has been
Everything that
kind of
lives is
taking a
designed
break
to end.
from the game, and he himself
We
has
are
been kind of
perpetually
disappointed with some
trapped
of his results lately.
in a
So I'll be
never-ending
really interested to
spiral of
see, and
life and
Unity
death.
kind of on the other end of the spectrum, really improving a lot,
Is
thinking
this a
that he can drop
curse?
his time by about
Or
2
some kind
minutes.
of punishment? I
What are your
often think
thoughts
about the
about that?
god who blessed us with this cryptic puzzle.
I'm definitely
And
excited. I'm a
wonder
little
if we'll
worried on how
ever have the
Marbles
chance to kill him.
has been performing lately, but that's not to say that he can't go fast. Both of these runners can go incredibly fast for both of their PBs being... Well, Unity's PB is definitely a couple minutes behind Marvel's here, but Marvel's has definitely been a little risky in his performance throughout this entire tournament, basically.
Yeah, Marvel's on the record saying that he's going to go for some of the riskier skips every single race, and also a little bit of extra sauce. Kinda hoping he might be beaten out of the tournament.
Really?
Don't quote me
A
on it.
commentator wishing bad
Don't quote me on it.
things upon a runner? I wouldn't dare.
But, you know, Marble gone on the record in personal conversation to say not to say that while I'm commentating. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. But he has been taking a little bit of a break, and while normally Marble I think would be absolutely the favorite in just about any of his matches, I think it could produce some very tasty races for us.
Hopefully we don't have too much of a appetite tonight for some delicious spaghetti.
Ooh, Marble's setting up a little AI manip on the side there, pushing the ship to the left. He's gonna stay right there so that he can take out these enemies. It works, kind of. Oh, it doesn't get the second part of it. That part's... None of us know how it works, if I'm being honest. Sometimes it kills everything on the left side, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know.
Pretty intricate timing there from what we were trying to see from Marbles, but you can sort of see the different approaches to these waves here from both of these runners.
Yeah, so this is the entire game. If you don't know the game, NieR Automata, it is just entirely a shoot 'em up. So buckle in. We've got an hour and a half of... No, not actually. This is just a very interesting section. Yoko Taro, the game director, absolutely loves to go between side-scroller, shoot 'em up, and like 3D beat 'em up. It's kind of a nutty game, and it's going to allow for some really interesting mechanics in terms of speed gaming stuff. It's going to be
Well, I would hope that on a channel known as Speed Gaming, we would see some speed game, correct?
I don't know, Myth. You tell me.
I'm feeling pretty speedy here right now.
Might be the caffeine, my friend. Now,
It
Marble's
could be.
not going for the triangles, which makes me a little upset. Poster I saw still is in the chat.
Unity did try to line up for a specific angle there. What we were talking about just then is a sort of little bit of swag that some runners do, and threading the needle between some of those pillars there. Just extra points for, let's say, crowd pleaser, I guess.
Yeah, just cool guy points. You've entered the cool guy zone if you start seeing people doing that. I will say that these shmup sequences are a lot more interesting to play than they are to watch. But we are finally back. We're finally not back. We are finally into what the game is going to look like for most of this run. You wanna tell me what the heck Marbles is doing and why these enemies are dying so darn quickly?
Oof, Marbles unfortunately took a couple extra damage glitches there, but the main combat that we're going to be using for a lot of these fights, and almost every single fight really, is doing something known as a damage glitch. Conveniently, the game actually gives us a specific weapon set where the short sword is equipped in our heavy slot. And what we're able to do is actually do a dash maneuver and then a heavy attack right after to throw out a spinning sword. But the problem is that this spinning sword has a unique property to it, in that it deals a ridiculous amount of damage for every single tick of damage that it hits for, which is really sort of strange, and we don't really know why it's still in the game, even though the devs probably knew about it in the demo of the game, but questions that we'll never actually have an answer for, unfortunately. Both of these runners actually finishing Marks 1 basically at the same time, which is sort of unique, either on account of Marbles making a little bit of spaghetti, as we can see Unity pulling ever so slightly ahead, Marbles showing a little bit of spaghetti there, going on to crane skip, climbing some of this terrain here, going into the next silo here. Essentially, Prologue is really, really dense in the amount of combat and techniques that we end up doing, and it really comes down to how well the runners have optimized this first sort of 15-minute-ish section here, between all the different enemies that you have to take out and all the different strategies that you have to know. And we'll see here in a little bit both runners attempting to do a pretty precise high jump.
Ooh. Boy.
I'm really hoping that Marbles gets it first try, but
here we
we'll
go.
see how
Oh,
both these guys go. I'll call that a half attempt from Marbles, but Unity's looking pretty clean there.
Oh,
Both
man.
runners doing bridge skip basically at the same time.
Alright, so what we do there is just basically some of these attacks in this game just give us height, and by stringing together different attacks we can get more and more height to get up to places that we probably shouldn't be. Marble's getting a little bit stuck there, a little snagged on the wall, but this is an incredibly close race so far, literally second or 2 seconds away. If this whole thing is like that, then I am going to be freaking out at some point.
Oof, that was a bit of a weird dash swing into those stubbies there as they fell from the ceiling from Marbles. It is a little difficult because those stubbies do have shields on them, so sometimes they don't immediately die, but different runners have different strategies, and we do see that happen in some of these rooms here.
Ooh, Unity taking some damage. I will say it does look like Marbles is kind of getting into his rhythm again. It looked like starting off in Prologue, he was a little bit... Oh, he's going for angle swag?
Going for a little bit of swag here, climbing over the really large sort of structure that's in front of him. Unity
All
also
of that
going for it as
swag
well.
for a
Let's see if he pulls it off as
0.8
well. Unfortunate.
Oh.
Unity having a little bit of frustration there, but he's going to have to take the long way around, losing that potential less than a second time save.
You know, that's going to be huge in the grand scheme of it. No, I'm just kidding. He really doesn't lose a lot by not doing that, except for just not looking quite as cool, which is unfortunate in my opinion. What's better than looking cool ice cold? But honestly, it does look like Marbles kind of getting into his rhythm. I think that if Marbles gets punches, he is going to be incredibly tilted and probably going to not do as well in the race as he should theoretically.
Hey, you know, I'm not the one here who's saying anything related to RNG, you know, but
it's okay. I'm just still tilted about my own last race. Oh my gosh.
One thing that is worth pointing out, sorry to cut you off there, Shamu, but on the boss that both of these runners had just dispatched with the 2 buzz axes, they did end up actually slowing down the boss in their own sort of unique ways. Marbles, unfortunately, did a perfect dodge into one of its attacks by accident, so that actually slowed down the boss and making its attack animations a little bit slower than what he would have wanted. But Unity actually ended up slow-mowing down the boss when it came time to damaging him, which is also a fine approach, but it also slows down the boss unintentionally, which there is a strategy that you can actually slow down the boss without having to use some of these different means through perfect dodging or slow-mowing. Just attacking the boss at precisely the right times is sort of what they would have wanted. But moving on to this sort of large machine in front of us now, we're just waiting for a damage threshold. But
No,
afterwards we will be waiting for something. Kind of hoping.
Okay,
right
okay.
here.
Coming into so this is a.
Oh,
no! Oh,
I'm blaming you,
no.
Shamu. You spoke up, and you said something, and I don't know if I can really have that kind of trust in you now.
That's okay. I don't need your trust. Myth. I don't need it.
Unity might actually come out on top of this out of RNG.
Yeah,
from here.
You know, and in the spirit of keeping. Oh, you know what? Marbles deserved it. Look at the pipe he's going on.
Oh.
That's why. Nothing good comes out of right pipe. See, Unity choosing the right pipe, or the correct pipe.
The correct pipe.
With left pipe. And, you know, coming out on top with the RNG. It just goes to show you. But, in the case of RNG, that actually loses about 22 seconds getting that punch. He can also do a clap, which loses about 6 seconds, I believe. And then any of the ranged attacks are really what you want. That being said, that is the biggest case of RNG, and the rest of this run is, you know, there are some RNG stuff with boss attacks, but that's the one that will lose you time more than just about anything else. There is one more instance of RNG in Prologue, and you know what, I'll knock on wood this time. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I knocked on wood. When you go back into a flight unit, by the way, this is called the double lift. I'm just going to interrupt myself real quick.
You do perfect a lift. Synchronization, I might
wow.
add.
Like frame perfect. Wow.
These guys are like, was it synchro swimmers or something?
synchronized.
Essentially, we are looking at synchronized gameplay right here, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's see whose ninjas pan out a little bit better. Oh, baby.
Having a little bit of a struggle there, but
oh wow, they're going in at just about the same time. Okay, so this is where the RNG can come in again. 2B and 9S are going to have a dialogue about our big boy, Friendo. I say friend, really, I hate this character with a passion, but Engels, this big boss boy here. And they're going to have a conversation. 2B is eventually going to yell, shut up. And then we want him to put out an attack immediately, and we want it to be a punch. If they get a laser or missiles or something, they are going to lose a little bit of time. And we have seen that sometimes in this particular bracket as well. And it can be heartbreaking. But they are
quite easy to lose time here, surprisingly.
Yeah. Controller Unity's apparently having a little bit of an issue. Unity said his controller won't stop vibrating.
He might be able to unplug and replug his controller in.
Yeah, in a second, maybe during the loading screen.
We can see here from both runners' perspectives that Unity got a little bit better RNG than Marbles did, which should put Unity just a couple seconds ahead of Marbles towards the end of Prologue here.
What did I was looking at that. What did Marble get? What attack did he get out of the dialogue?
I could have sworn it was a punch. I might be wrong on that.
Yikes. So, interesting thing about this is that you can do the heavy attack and then dodge, and it resets it for some reason. So they just hit him with a quick 1-2-3 punch. And now they're going to be doing some very interesting movement. I think Myth's talking to Unity about some stuff, so they're going to be doing what's called dash punching, and you're going to be seeing that until we upgrade our sword and get some faster movement speed for our sword. But for now, we're going to be doing dash punches, which people definitely regard as some of the worst movement in the game. You dash, and then at the end of the dash, you do a little punch. It's very, very, very slightly faster than just dash chaining, which dash chaining is quite a bit faster than running. So they're just going to be skipping through a few cutscenes here, and then they're going to be doing some menu percent, trying to get through some menus as quickly as possible. No matter what level you're at, these menus will still give you trouble every once in a while. Knock on wood that both of these runners have a perfect menu percent.
But this is really sort of where both runners are going to have to deal with a lot of muscle memory, in that Marbles does have a good amount of experience between all these different runs that he has done. He's run A ending.
Please.
Number of
I was expecting some stats, some knowledge. If someone is in the chat can act as my our analysis table, that would be great. I'll try to find a screenshot of some of Marble's splits or something real quick. Oh. Okay, so
runs done 500 attempts, and at least A ending.
The surface?
You said about 500 attempts. Sorry, you went a little bit robot.
I'd say about 500 attempts, yeah.
They're way too expensive for us grunts. Too bad they can't mass produce these things yet.
Okay, so another interesting thing is that Marble is playing in Japanese, while Unity is playing in English. Now, what does this do for the runners? Pretty much nothing. Since they're playing in loadless, it doesn't matter. But if we were playing on RTA, then it would actually matter a lot, because Japanese load times are quite a bit faster than the English times, or the English load times. But because they're playing in loadless, it really won't matter. It ends up just being preference. A lot of the older runners will run in Japanese because they're used to it, because we used to do RTA. But we do loadless now to make it a bit more fair. Hopefully that answers any questions about that.
Now, a little bit, because AC will be a little bit different between the two time between.
We're
is really crappy.
Seems we're getting a little bit robotic. Getting some roboticness from your mic, Myth. Apparently Mytherium's net is doing some weird stuff. So I will go into auctioneer mode and try to be talking about the run as quickly as possible, keeping things entertaining, keeping things fresh, keeping things from having dead air without another commentator. So for the time being, that's what we're going to do until Myth can join us. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump up here, do a little lift, get over here, do this as quickly as possible, jump, then dash swing into this cutscene that skips a slow walk animation. Slow walk animation loses a couple seconds, usually about 4 seconds going into the cutscene. Now we're going to be doing that wonderful thing that I called dash punching, which is exactly what we're seeing on MarbleSoda's screen. And honestly, it's kind of a funky timing, and it's very easy to lose time there. They're just going to go over that barricade. Fun fact, you can just jump over that barricade. Most people don't know that in their casual playthrough. So we're going to be going into the resistance camp, trying to get some fetch quests. Fetch quests, my favorite type of quest ever.
The resistance camp, huh? We should probably
Who doesn't
And it
like
should be
footage
yours. There we go. Welcome back, Myth.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're all good. This race is still incredibly close, by the way, guys. Only a couple seconds apart. Literally, probably 3 or 4 seconds apart at this point. So if you want to explain explain some of what's about to happen, what's going on. What would inform me? I like some knowledge, Myth.
So, like Shabu had mentioned, both runners are going to be dash punching here across the open field areas here in the city ruins, but they do have to be careful of a sort of movement-related issue in this game is that when you're close by an enemy or an enemy is within field of vision of the camera, there's sort of a little lock-on indicator in that if you do an attack while that lock-on indicator is on an enemy, the character will sort of turn in that direction and want to
big plants too.
welcomed, but in terms of actual movement, because a lot of our movement tech is as a result of attacking, it really pulls us off of a beeline, making us waste a good amount of time there, but at least for now, we won't have to deal with that too much, but in some of these later sections where we do change around up onto greater play there, both runners not getting too bad RNG. It looked like Unity took a little bit of a time there to find the last item.
So no, I don't think they're a pain.
With both runners making quick work of these fetch quests here.
Alright, so probably the most exciting thing in the game is the fact that we get to upgrade our sword here with all of the stuff that we just got. And there goes dash punching. Dash punching is gone. Everyone wave goodbye to dash punching. Give it a clap if you want to. Thank you, dash punching, for your wonderful addition to this speedrun that was about, 10 minutes. Maybe 5 or 6. Yeah, probably about 5 minutes. Because we upgraded the speed of, the attack speed on our sword with that upgrade, we are now able to dash swing, which is faster. Now, I will say that it only makes you faster by about a second every 15 seconds or something like that. And if you accidentally do a standing heavy, which I'm sure we will see at least once, it is equal to the time you would gain from doing 3 perfect dash swings. Now, we've talked about slow-mo a little bit. If you're charging up a pod program, which is like the laser or whatever you're using, it will actually slow down the world around you, and so we're going to be using that a lot. They're going to be using the slow-mo, then canceling, and then refreshing slow-mo. And basically when you see those 3 lines and you hear that noise, it means that they're slow-moing the world. It's so that enemies can't catch up to you, it's so that you won't auto-lock onto an enemy by keeping them kind of far away, it's so that an enemy will go slower. Tons and tons and tons of applications. Incredibly useful bit of tech. Try it at home if you like to. It's not that
It also
difficult.
has a good number of uses in combat as well, and hopefully we'll see that from Marbles, but I know he hasn't really incorporated that into his retinue of combat yet. But both runners are going to stop here quickly in the desert camp to pick up a couple items, some offensive buffs, and some animal baits, as well as a specific chip known as Resilience. That's going to help basically give the player some hyper armor as long as their HP is greater than 80%. So as long as their health is full, then they will have no chance of staggering so long as they keep their HP up. And that's going to play very crucial later on in the run against some of these other bosses in the game. Some of their attacks do cause us to stagger quite often, but we'll be taking advantage of that later. Both runners swiftly going out of bounds like a hot knife through butter. 2V's attacks really are too strong for the walls of this game to handle, so they're really just suggestions at this point. If you see a wall, you could probably go through it.
All of this fancy out-of-bound movement and tech, you'd think that they were doing a humongous skip. No, that saves about 4 seconds. But we're trying to be fast. We're trying to save every second that we can. I'm going to throw out my disclaimer that makes me excited about this run every single time. The developers had a bit of an oversight when they made walls, and that is that they made them paper thin and they made them very short. So
Careful.
basically what we do is we just kind of pretend that the walls aren't there, because there's so many ways to get out of them. Because they are paper thin and very short, we can either jump over them or jump through or slice through them most of the time. So that's going to be a very, very important and interesting thing to happen in this run. Sometimes we are just going to be jumping through invisible walls, which we'll see in a little bit here. But we're going to be coming up on one of the biggest skips in the game and one of the most interesting, because we do have a top awesome runner. Oh, getting a very good stupid rock there. Those rocks have a little bit of weird physics. If you do a plunge at exactly the right time, you can just slide across that rock, save a second or two.
That was a quite very early plunge there from the machine that we saw on Marbles' screen, but not so lucky for Unity there. It is quite lucky to get the machine there to instantly burrow into the sand and progress the triggers enough.
So again, because we do have a great top runner in commentary right now, I think that you probably are the best at explaining this skip coming up right now.
Sure. So Marbles is in search of an apartment, and he seems to have found it. So he's just going to clip into that apartment building.
Congratulations, Marble.
And go directly out of bounds to the atom pit there. But the problem is that he's going to be looking for two different triggers. One of them is in this real mess of a apartment building that is conveniently not solid. So we could just sort of do a long jump out into the void there, pick up the trigger, and plunge down to the platform there to trigger the entire sequence, progressing the fight into the atom pit with all the triggers that he needs. And we can also see him switching off his short sword onto his heavy slot. That's also going to help him basically throw out...
Unity falling into the pit. Barely.
Oof.
Oh, is he gonna save load?
I don't think he can save load from in the pit. He might have to either reload his save or jump back up. We'll see which decision.
Unity is saying I need to restart my PC. Oh no.
Oh no. But just swiftly moving on to some of the techniques that Marbles is doing here. What he's really looking for in the fight here against all these different machines is really just to take out as many as he possibly can, so that way he can put himself in a better position for collecting more critical up chips. Critical up chips do drop from these enemies here in this specific fight, so runners do take advantage of these enemies as best they possibly can.
Okay, so one thing we actually didn't finish explaining is why Marble put his small sword in the second slot for both weapons, weapon slots. I'm talking to Unity. Do you want to, real quick, explain why that is important? Oh, I guess you're also talking to Unity. Unity seems to be having some tech issues. He's restarting his PC. We're not entirely sure how he's thinking of going with the run, but just keeping you up to date. So we explained damage glitch earlier. Now we're able to do something interesting by changing the small sword to the second slot for both weapon slots. And what that is that we are... Sorry, I'm trying to also read some of the Discord messages that are going.
No, it's okay. Keep going. Keep going.
What we are able to do is we're able to switch weapon slots while we're doing DG to throw out two spinning swords at the same time. Now, damage glitch, or DG as we're calling it, is interesting. Yeah, we're not going to be able to get a hold of Marble, are we? Oh well. DG is cool because we can do about 5 times damage input, but if we do double DG, then there is a point in time where we can do about, double our damage output of that. And so then with buffs and taunting, which we haven't explained yet, taunting, if you flash your flashlight at an enemy a lot and very quickly, they become red and steam comes off of them, and that means that they are taking 1.5 times damage. They are also dealing 1.5 times damage. I believe it's 1.5. Right, Myth?
I'm sorry?
Taunting 1.5?
Yes. Taunt is a very powerful tool that... Oh no,
Marble.
Marble's falling out of the void there. Losing a little bit more time, but I do believe, just to answer an earlier question, Marbles does go into true focus mode when it comes to races, blotting out the world.
Yes, that's correct. So what we did there is just, because we are on loadless, we picked up that teleporter earlier, and then we just went out of bounds to actually miss a dialogue. There's a dialogue there that you can't save load through, so we have to go out of bounds to miss that dialogue and get in range of the save load area and skip that dialogue. It saves about 30 seconds loadless, right? Is it 30 or 15?
No.
Closer to like 15-ish,
Okay.
somewhere between 12 seconds to 15 seconds, depending on how optimal the runner does
I
it.
also have an incoming message from the commander. Initiating playback.
And unfortunately, I do believe Unity might be taking the forfeit on this.
Yeah, it looks like...
Unfortunately, PC issues is the bane of our existence here as Automata runners. For the PC version, it definitely has its good share of issues, and it's unfortunate, but...
Confirmed. I'm worried about the other androids. Looks like our surface route's been
Ooh,
cut
nice
that-
plunge. Oh, he lets go of the SD there. A little bit early, grabs onto the ladder.
Right.
But we androids were modeled after our human creators.
But,
So why would
man.
machines try to look like us?
Yeah, that's
There's no
actually a
point
huge
trying to
bummer.
work out
We
unsolvable
think that
problems.
Unity's
I suppose.
probably ducking out though. We think he's probably forfeiting this race.
I would not say that's so fast, Fullest. Left Pipe can do some great things, but...
Left Pipe still has
Sometimes.
world record fullest. That's all.
Anyway, in terms of the amusement park area here, Marbles did actually jump over the discovery cutscene for the beginning of the amusement park area, but very swiftly here he's going to clip out of bounds again, very easily right there, jeez, and make his way through the amusement park quite easily. As we said, walls are really just suggestions, as Marbles decides to go for roller coaster skip here. It's kind of an interesting decision, but he did say that he was going to go for it.
Every single race in the tournament. So no matter how far he gets, if he gets to grand finals, he's going for it. That's what he said. He said,
I'm just looking at Marbles' technique there. It might be...
"Oh boy, and
Nice.
he gets it."
But he might have some difficulty on that first trigger there. I don't know if he was too far to the left or too far to the right to get it.
Yeah, that
Sort of an interesting execution there from Marbles. I've never quite seen it done this way, but
Oh,
if it pays out for
we'll
him.
hope.
He did get the second half of that trick there, which is essentially to jump up and over the roller coaster as it comes into the station and get onto a specific angle and height, and then immediately clip off the roller coaster in order to escape its clutches and do other things while it's going around the track. So what Marbles is able to do here is really just kill things while he's outside of the roller coaster itself, and we'll see if it pays out for him, but there is a strong chance that he missed one of the triggers there. I'm kind of crossing my fingers here that Marbles has executed it properly, but killing these three machines should leave him with barely enough time, and the roller coaster came right back into the station. That's unfortunate. Marbles is going to have to
Marble.
climb back up.
Guy.
Climb back up to the platform there with the roller coaster. So he did get the tank trigger there, so he must have missed the trigger on the tracks? Okay. Because Marbles did climb up the steps of the roller coaster, he did end up just resetting the instance of the coaster itself, reset all the triggers associated with it, and hopping back onto it is going to be another minute or so that he's going to wait. And you can sort of see from his timer there, he is unfortunately losing time.
Yeah, it's this would have been. I'm not going to bring this up much, but if Unity was still in the race, this would have been crazy hype, depending on how far behind or ahead Unity was at the time, because this would have completely leveled the playing field. Unfortunately, Unity, it seems like, is officially dropping out of the race due to some technical issues. It seems like his computer is overheating, doing some kind of funky stuff. So, you know, that honestly really sucks. You really hate to see that happen. Unity, a very good runner, very entertaining to watch. Everything, that stuff just happens sometimes.
Unfortunate indeed. But we do still have Marbles here to watch here as he closes out the race, essentially. But definitely unfortunate with some of the issues that Unity ran into. They're not quite sure on the details, but we'll see if Unity is able to close out at a later date on the losers bracket. Unfortunate, but unfortunate that is the case. Here, on Marbles' perspective, he's just making clean work of this boss here in the theater. Unfortunately, Beauvoir is as good as she is designed, very threshold-driven in terms of her mechanics, and at least in the speedrun, we don't necessarily see too many of those mechanics, do we?
We really don't, because we just kind of kill it as fast as possible. Not quite as fast as possible, because actually if you zero cycle Beauvoir on a lot of cases, then she'll do the full cycle. But if you half cycle, she'll only do a half cycle. I don't know. Good game design. That being said, what we're looking for here is he's going to be trying to go weaving, bobbing, dipping and diving through all these enemies without getting hacked. Gets super lucky, doesn't get a single hack, because every time you get hacked, you can lose about 4 to 6 seconds, depending on how well you do that small little hacking sequence. He's going to just melt her down, wait for a second, take out some of these guys for a little bit of extra XP, a little bit of keeping himself warm, getting rid of any sort of, you know, any sort of little variables that could happen, him getting hacked out of nowhere. He's going to melt down Beauvoir and SD right after he levels up. Boom! That's Beauvoir.
And boom, in more ways than one. He actually set that up specifically so that way, exiting the fight here, Marbles is on 1 HP, and that's going to be important for a later skip here between going back and forth between 2 different locations very, very quickly and very efficiently at that.
Some very interesting movement tech, in my opinion. It's kind of risky, but it definitely is worth it if he's able to pull it off. All we're doing right now is just quickly getting to Pascal's village. We actually don't need that machine. If you've played through this casually, you'll probably talk to that machine. Really think hard about if you want to hang out with some machines or not. It really doesn't matter. You can just mash through it. Doesn't matter which decision you pick. The game makes you go to Pascal's village. And he doesn't actually have to show you there. In fact, if you can get out of bounds, you don't have to talk to that robot at all. That is a fun fact of the day for all of you out there. You can also skip that cutscene, which I didn't know for the longest time speedrunning this game.
So why don't the machines
Rip
or the
flag
aliens
bearer
who created
bot.
them attack the bunker directly?
The best
They
bot.
originally came here from outer space, right?
An innocent
There are a few
bystander.
theories about that, but no one knows for sure.
Rest in
Hard to
peace.
tell what an alien
Press
is
F to pay
thinking,
respects
you know?
for flag bearer bot. Oh, Marble getting a
Marble.
slow walk.
Marble showing some unwanted spaghetti in every single one of these splits
They all
here.
have white flags.
Looks like they really don't want to.
It's quite funny because after a good amount of time running this, you do sort of get climatized as to where some of those triggers are located within the map.
Yeah.
And it's always so frustrating whenever it happens that you know where the trigger is, you know what you were supposed to do, but it just happened that it was frame perfect.
Yeah, you just
And
forget sometimes.
Marble's unfortunately doing an unoptimal strat here. Some would say
Doesn't lose that much time.
it loses time, let's be honest here.
It loses like
Unfortunately, it is an older technique because before we knew that we could actually cancel dialogue with objects. Oh no.
no
Marbles.
boars.
Marble's doubling down on the negative swag here. Quite unfortunate that we're seeing this out of a top runner,
Oh.
but
I am definitely.
I don't know what to
person
say
to
here,
discuss this
dude.
with.
I mean, taking a moose?
I don't know. I don't know what is going through his mind right now. Honestly, I think that since Unity has dropped out, we can bully Marble a little bit more.
I think we can. I don't mind that. I hope Marbles doesn't mind that we bully him.
Yeah, it's out of massive respect and appreciation for him as a runner. By the way, guys, none of this is it's all in jest. We've all been around for a very good period of time. I think most of us. Marble definitely the longest still running, and then I've been here over a year now. I think you've been here for quite some time as well, Myth.
I'd say about 9 months or so.
Yeah, so we're all good pals.
Did Marbles?
Oh boy.
Just...
All right, top two player. Just died to the moose. Good work, Marble. Awesome.
And magically appearing at Pascal's village there, exactly what he was meant to do. Making swift work of the back and forth between Pascal's village and the resistance camp. Very nice. It would have been cleaner if Marbles had a boar, but unfortunate that he had a moose.
Yeah, if you get a boar, you can do something called boar hopping, which a really, illustrious, some might say, magical, mystical, highly respected runner found. Which is
I wonder who that is.
I don't know, Myth. I don't know. You tell me, Myth. Who was it?
I don't know who found it.
I think we should call it myth hopping.
No, I don't deserve that name.
That's how I feel about Shabu Skip. Feels so awkward commentating and saying, "Oh, coming up on Shabu Skip."
Probably shouldn't get near that guy.
But anyway,
yeah, no.
if you jump on the board and you repeatedly jump, there's a slight during the jump squat phase of the animation, you actually gain speed. So because the boar has such a small jump, you can just keep jumping a lot quicker. It's very quick uphill, especially, but you get a little boost in speed. So I am going to explain one thing very, very quickly. You remember earlier I talked about how the developers did not really pay attention to walls very much, and they just kind of have holes in them. They've got ways to get over them. They've got ways to get through them. Yeah, this is probably the best, along with one other example of the fact that they just didn't make walls very tall.
This is probably the worst offender by all. The QA team from Platinum Games and Square Enix should really, well...
So there's an invisible wall here. He's just gonna jump through it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, that's a thing.
There's just a hole there.
It used to be that we had to jump over that wall, but we still can, although it's significantly faster just to jump through this tiny little hole in the wall.
And there you go. They really did not like walls.
One thing to point out, Shabu, what you had mentioned when you had explained boar hopping, you had said jump squats. How does one do a jump squat?
Sorry, a jump squat is an animation term. so like it's the preparation for a jump part. So like when you're jumping, you don't just jump with straight legs, right?
Right. Yeah.
You have to
Like you squat down and then you jump up.
Yeah, you got to get some movement. You got to bend those knees, boy.
Bend those knees, and I bet 2B does a similar retinue of her own.
Does lots
That's
of
all I'm gonna comment on that. What are we speedrunning?
2Vs. I'm NieR Automata. There we go. Okay, we're gonna be doing something very interesting. Actually, we're having a lovely conversation with Commander. We're gonna hang up on her. What that actually does, just by moving quickly, you can do this casually without knowing anything about the game. And thank God it's actually allowed in glitchless, because I did this casually. Anyway, another can of worms that we don't need to talk about. But basically, you go through that dialogue stops, and it's stuck in that call kind of in the background. And so any calls we get on our pod, I tried to call you on your pod phone, it's not going to ring, and people are just going to start talking to us out of thin air. There's not going to be like a brr, brr. It's just going to boom talking to us, and it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, but you know what, it saves time.
And who knows, perhaps we'll
Shabu, you used to call me on my pod phone.
That was my joke. I'm glad someone got it.
We can grow. We can become
Now I'm sad.
aware.
I'm sorry, man.
The intelligence within our network began to surpass that of our creators.
But anyway, do you want to explain this section?
Yeah, so we've encountered Alan and Steve, and they're not so nice as we thought they were. But conveniently, we actually deal way too much damage, and we're able to take them out quite easily. But the thing is that we can only really kill them once to gain experience out of them. But what Marbles is attempting to do is basically escape the arena by counterattacking and doing a high jump to get over the invisible wall there and essentially escape the arena. That doesn't necessarily skip the fight itself, but it does allow Marbles to go and collect a couple of materials and get some XP that he otherwise wouldn't be able to access. Because right now, it's essentially just free time. He could do anything he wishes in the meantime as Alan finishes up his dialogue.
We'd never do that. Can you believe this, 2B?
I'm going to actually...
Well, I suppose this concludes.
I'm gonna message Marble everywhere I can.
He might be in streamer mode, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I messaged him.
So he might know.
And I'm going to message him on Discord as well. Just because there's some crazy stuff that most of the top runners can do, but they won't go for in like a race situation. I'm just gonna say, like, go for any of the crazy stuff.
What a pain.
Shabu deciding to preload some cards into the deck here. I'm not too certain on how legitimate this is for our I'm trying to make a card joke.
It's kind of like counting cards. I think it's frowned upon, but it's not illegal.
Only smart people do it.
Only, yeah, the most talented people. Anyway, we're gonna go back to Bunker real quick. We're gonna see some interesting things. We're gonna mash through some dialogue, and then do a dialogue skip. So, interestingly enough, most of the skips in this game are dialogue skips. They just look very different from each other. And this one is going to be a very fun one that we do by opening up our partner's like switch. Like, so it's like, do you want to change my settings? And then you walk into a dialogue, and for some reason, that box of like, do you want to, like, hey, what do you want to talk about or whatever, overrides any other dialogue and just skips that dialogue entirely.
That was really interesting. I'm kind of in shock there, but coming out of the cutscene from transporting from the City Ruins cave to the bunker there, you're immediately in contact with the commander there. Sometimes it takes a second or so for the camera to pan in and the commander to begin talking, but we actually just saw Marbles instantly talk to the commander there. I haven't seen that for a good couple months at this point, which is really sort of strange.
Oh,
I'm not
Ninus
too certain.
is on the roof.
Oh. Dude, what a high jumper.
Sorry, that's rarely. Oh, baby! He's going for it.
Marbles must have gotten the message there, opting to level up his sword to level 3. Not very common that runners would actually do that technique in basically increasing his damage by a good percentage.
Oh, baby, did you see his chips, too?
I unfortunately did not.
Oh, he's got some juicy chips. He's gonna be doing some damage. He's gonna be doing crazy amounts of damage. This guy's gonna be melting people. Doing another quick skip here, by the way. Just doing a very high jump. Then he's gonna get some horizontal distance by doing a pod launch, pod spin, and then a plunge, and that's just gonna skip a little robot talking to his mom, getting very hissy-fitty, and just kind of being a little bit of a piece of crap. Then this is just very quick movement, labbed out by the top runners to be as quickly as possible, the best beeline, all of that jazz. And we're going to be going into another couple dialogue skips and a fight, but I think Myth is itching to talk about that stuff, because boy, I am not, so I'm going to pass it over to you.
But yeah, similar to what we had seen in the bunker there, Marbles is going to be aiming to do a dialogue skip right at the edge of one of these triggers here, makes the enemies spawn in significantly faster without having to wait for the dialogue. But in just a little bit here, we will probably see Marbles equip his juicy chips that he has waiting for him. I'm excited because the amount of damage that those chips actually end up giving our runners is pretty ridiculous when it happens. So Marbles is going to be looking to equip the resilience chip that we had picked up earlier, and I see 1 crit plus 1 and 1 crit plus 0 in Marbles' inventory. Not as great as I would have thought, but still very nice in terms of actual critical hit potential.
Yeah, but usually I feel like when you get BC3, you usually don't get BC3 and criticals.
True, that is a good amount of RNG that Marbles had to fight through in order to get the setup that he has right now, because Virtuous Contract level 3 needs a good amount of materials that are just random. Just a little bit of spaghetti there.
Spaghetti. You do want to plunge there to get a little bit of extra distance. Do you mind if I... anyway, sorry, finish your talk about the RNG drops of Virtuous Contract, and then I'll explain some stuff.
Yeah, so one of the drops we can actually help influence in just killing additional machines in some of our fights, albeit they're really few and far between of our chances of picking up some of those items, but Marbles picking up a couple of the world drops that we had seen earlier definitely helped him in getting this faster and better sword overall, but we'll see how much he actually takes use of it. One thing to point out here, as Marbles enters the castle area here, he's going to be aiming to do a really nice long jump there, getting as much distance as he possibly can to cross the chasm between the castle and the mainland area. Very nice execution there from
very clean.
Marbles. But he's also going to be aiming to go out of bounds here in the castle. Sorry to cut you off, but this castle is spaghetti, and we don't want any business of it, so we're just going to clip out. Like, easy peasy. One of those routes is positioned precisely that we can get an angle and clip right out of bounds and scale up the side of the wall here, like Spider-Woman, except sword.
Okay, yeah, I was looking real weird. I thought I went to the wrong side of Windows. I was real freaked out for a second there. We're all good, we're all good. So yeah, basically we just go up, get in, and that's castle.
Very interesting skip, at least for me when I was first learning it, because I loved the intricacies of the castle itself, but for that to just be demolished by the speedrun is really, at least what I found was interesting.
Yeah, and one thing that I thought when I watched that, I was terrified of learning that skip. By the way, this is just going to be clean combat. He's just going to be trying to take out A2 as quickly as possible. Very difficult fight. Myth, my co-commentator here, very familiar with this fight.
I do not like this fight whatsoever, but Marbles is also getting a little bit of unlucky RNG there from A2. Some of her attacks can really be mean to the runner. And fortunately, it didn't take too long on that fight, but definitely got the bottom of the barrel in terms of RNG on some of those attacks there.
I like that that the easiest skips in this game most of the time are the ones that save the most time, and the most difficult ones save like the least amount of time.
I wouldn't really say the least amount of time, but they definitely save a little bit less time than this.
This one saves like 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, this skip in particular that Marbles did outside the back area of the castle. Normally you would have to follow A2 out the window and wait for a good amount of dialogue to happen, but we don't want any part of that, so we're just going to hop over an invisible wall and escape the clutches of that arena and just transport back to Pascal's village. Easy peasy.
It'll be fast.
I guess Factory, Icefire putting me in my place, rightfully so. Icefire pointing out the fact that Factory saves about 2 minutes. But I was more thinking like, not a bunch of individual parts put together, but like for one individual thing, that saves just like a ridiculous amount of time just for a simple high jump. But Factory does save about 2 minutes, and that is an incredibly difficult skip. So we're going to be coming up on everyone's favorite part of the run, and that is Flooded City skip.
Dude, I love Flooded City skip. I love it because it really, I've said this a million times at this point, but it really showcases how well knit some of these areas are, and you don't really get a chance to see that unless you look at like the mini-map or anything, or the bigger map in our menus. But in terms of the world design of putting these areas so close to one another, but also having them feel so different, is really sort of unique and really kind of Dark Souls-y with how close these areas are really kind of connected. But Marbles is going to go and pick up one of the triggers there underneath one of the buildings and fall down into the water to void out. That will replace him back at the top of the resistance camp area and allow him to plunge down to the back end of the Flooded City area and spawn back up onto the shore here in order to...
Oh my god!
Here, those are some gnarly crits. Woo! And a crazy amount of damage to boot.
That's a lot of damage. Okay, let's see if he gets some good stuff on this flyer.
Unfortunately, Marble's having to do a secondary lift on that fidget spinner. I really don't like that enemy on that fight. My fights are usually really slow, but Marble's making short work of this Flooded City shore fight there. Specifically, Marbles chose to go onto that sunken building to skip a little bit of dialogue, causing the flight units to instantly spawn in. Which is very handy indeed, especially since we made such short work of the Flooded City area. But now it's time to sleep.
Woo! Who's ready to sleep? For hype, Myth? What are you talking about? I am ready for the hype. Are you kidding me? Me the hype. It's time for everyone's favorite section, everyone's favorite disco groovin'. I can't think of another adjective. Laser making, wonderful, big, lovable hunk of metal.
Mountain moving.
It's
I figured they would want to try to rhyme some of them, so...
I couldn't think that fast. I was just kind of just stream of consciousness. Basically what this is a really awesome 10 to 11 minute shmup sequence where most of that is auto-scroller. Not all of it. There are sections that are player controlled, so unfortunately you can't just put your controller down because you have to pay attention the whole time because you have to get XP and you have to do certain things correctly. So it's a win-win for everyone. It's a horrible auto-scroller that you have to play and pay attention to.
Attention, this is Carrier Blue Ridge 2.
Except for Groon. It never wins for Groon.
Never wins for Groon. Sometimes Groon does troll you. I feel like that's a win to Groon. Dude, I got freaking double. I got the double horrible RNG on cores. My last.
Don't you love it when that happens? I mean,
it's the best.
Who loves it when the cores just decide to spin and spin and spin and spin?
Spin to win. Groon knows.
Spin to win is the name of the game here for NieR Automata. We love spinning.
Do you mind if I, I'm sorry to cut you off. Do you mind if I talk about something super quick though?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, guys, now I think we've made it very clear that we love Groon. Groon is probably our favorite part of the game as runners. Tons of runners have not left the game only because of Groon. But because we, you know, the old adage of if you love something, set it free, we have a $2,500 bounty on Groon Skip. If you can find a way to skip this section of the game that is viable and usable in an any percent new game speedrun, there is $2,500 in your pocket if you find a way to skip this section. Because we love it so much, we just want to let Groon free. On a real note, we actually really hate this section. There's also a curry pizza and an alcoholic coffee beverage, I believe.
Since when did that get added?
I feel like, who added that? Was it Six or Tech?
I know Tech added the pizza.
Who added the... Was it MT? Someone added an alcoholic coffee beverage.
We need a GitHub to keep track of all this.
Yeah, we do. But yeah, if you can skip this section and make it speedrun viable, $2,500. I'm sorry, caffeinated alcoholic beverage, not coffee. Caffeinated alcoholic beverage and a curry pizza in your pocket. We're not talking fake money. We're talking real 2,500 USD.
Crap.
Not to be confused with USB.
Yeah, not USD.
2,500 USBs.
Yeah, actually, that wouldn't be the worst.
Command is attempting to launch a satellite
Sell those things for a decent amount of pop.
The enemy's electromagnetic camouflage is making it impossible to aim.
Oh, I'm saying.
We need you to find the emitter and take it out.
But yeah, so basically this is just like shmup stuff. We're just trying to get some experience. There is some sections again that do matter, as I said, but this is not one of them. So, Myth, how's your day going?
It's going pretty good. Was at school earlier this morning.
Nice. How's school going?
It's going pretty good. On a bit of a personal note, I've been doing quite well. I've been enjoying myself.
Yeah, let's go, Myth. Let's go.
Let's go.
Get that
good
knowledge.
In the chat.
Feels good, man, in the chat.
Go ahead.
How are you guys doing, chat?
If you guys in chat have any questions for us, now is the time to ask us, or you can stand up and stretch. Oh boy, this is our favorite part. If you haven't already gained, well, for those of you who have played this game, you will quite vividly remember this section as, well, an interesting section. But for those of you who have not played, well, why aren't you playing this right now?
Yeah, for real. I will say, Groon, casually, very cool.
Very fun.
Groon in a speedrun setting.
Not very fun.
Oh, horrible. Okay, so this is actually the first... I'm sorry, this is one of the first parts that is very dependent on the runner. He's going to be trying to take out these cores in a very specific time frame so that he doesn't get trolled by these cores, gets the perfect core, and then he's going to destroy... He has to destroy all four and then destroy the one in the middle. And basically, the cores rotate at a certain amount of time, and what you want to do is you want to get rid of those cores before they rotate, so that they rotate and you can hit all of them without missing any of them. It's actually a very tight timing, and it's fairly difficult for newer runners.
But one thing that I did want to just mention there is that because after having done this particular section so many times in a speedrun setting, it does actually come down to a lot of muscle memory in that the waves are all scripted, they're all the same between different runs, unfortunately. But I have said this in the past that, he's going in into Groon,
I love
dashing backwards.
You can just go into Groon, just through him.
It's amusing how the devs never really put a distance on some of those shmup sections in particular. Especially at weird camera angles, they really don't have a sort of invisible wall set in the location. But there are still things we have yet to learn in terms of the actual shmup environment, I should call it.
I'll help aim.
I guess, so this part is also player, whatever, but it is timed. I've actually been trolled by Green quite a few times on here, though. Because I go for, like, literally the soonest possible that you can get it into, shoot that hot load into his mouth. And I've hit his teeth so many times. Freaking don't use teeth, Green.
Dude, you're not supposed to put it on the teeth.
But anyways, after we shoot that into Groon's mouth, we're back into auto-scroller. Don't worry, guys, we've only got a lot left. No, but
unfortunately, Marbles is not on PB pace, so this will not be taking an extra 20 minutes. But we do still have a good amount of the run remaining ahead of us. A good number of skips to be had for Marbles here.
Yeah, the interesting thing that I always like to say is that Groon, like, this part is pretty boring, but it's honestly a gatekeeper to the most interesting and crazy parts of this run. There's a huge boss rush at the end, and then there's just, oh boy, we've got Deep Factory. We have some crazy fun stuff in terms of tech going on, but you do have to get through this part of the run to get to it, and that's a little bit unfortunate. $2,500, a curry pizza, and a caffeinated alcoholic beverage, if you are of age, obviously. If you can find Groon Skip. So what we have left is about 2 cores, and then so we're going to be flying, doing 2 more of the orb things, and there's going to be a section in between those parts. Just all in good fun.
Yeah, I was saying about halfway through, maybe a little bit more than halfway.
Yeah,
I'd say.
Yeah, if you count Goliath Fly, then we're halfway through. Oh, more than halfway through for sure.
But as I was alluding to earlier, a lot of these waves are really just scripted, which I definitely would have enjoyed a little bit of randomness on behalf of Platinum Games, but unfortunate that it's panned out this way.
I would have enjoyed not an auto-scroller. But I guess then you can...
Unfortunately getting some poor
myth
on course, an instance of which the core actually rotated a specific way that caused Marbles to not actually damage the core itself.
Yeah,
you mentioned Chevy?
It's unfortunate. Honestly, I feel like most spaghetti or most issues just, it's a lot chiller than normal, where you'll get a little bit more tense, like that, something like that happens, you're like, oh no, that's super unfortunate, but we know that he's won, so he's able to take things a little bit easier. I think he's just kind of finishing for the, sportsman aspect of it, which I respect, honestly. I know lots of people probably drop out, but he wants to give people a show, he wants to get some practice, and he wants to do a good run.
And I know that Marble really the type of I know Marbles does, or has tried to finish a good number of runs that he does, but one way or another, but might be that we're having a little bit of connection issues.
Yeah, a little bit.
Twitch, but here, connection issues today. My God.
Robot Ethereum strikes again. Alright, so we're coming up on the last core, finally. And Gruna's about to be done. Oh, and he gets really lucky there. That was a very close cycle. If he did that kind of late, it really could have gone either way. But Gruna's done, guys. And now we are going to get into some of the fastest, coolest, most wonderful stuff that this run has to offer. We're going to be just doing skip after skip after skip, and then we're going to be going into a boss rush. This is buckle in, because you guys are in for a treat right now. So the first thing we're going to be doing is doing a drown warp.
The meat and potatoes of the run, if you will.
Oh, welcome back, Myth.
Sorry, continue.
Oh no, I was kind of waiting, seeing if you were gonna take it. So that little drown warp allows us to skip some useless moving around. And so what we're gonna be doing is actually gonna do another quick drown warp right into this pond here, put us right in front of this pipe, and then we're gonna be doing what we like to call copied city clip, which is probably the most precise clip. In terms of inputs, it's not that difficult. In terms of timing, it's not that difficult. But in terms of angle and precision, it is incredibly difficult. If you want to field this one, Myth.
I will if I can. Because 2B's attacks are really powerful in comparison. Resist the player's movements, in that we can use an attack, heavy attack, and holding it for a split second. That causes 2B to really sort of thrust forward with the sword, and we can use that to clip out of one of these corners here, and we can actually clip out of a good number of areas using this.
Okay.
But Marbles,
So,
unfortunately, having a little bit of difficulty there.
One thing you have to keep in mind, is that he did upgrade to Virtuous Contract level 3, which changes your attack speed, and that makes that particular skip incredibly difficult. If that skip is incredibly precise with a normal VC level 2, Virtuous Contract, your tiny sword, with VC level 3, it is like practically RNG if you get it or not. It's very, very difficult to do with VC level 3, and this next skip, which we call mansplaining skip, is going to be another very precise angle and is notorious for giving people a hard time when they have Virtuous Contract level 3, so we'll see how this pans out. Icefire in the chat, one of the old gods, saying learn V1, which is probably fair, but oh well.
Definitely fair in that still showing off the clip would have been a better idea than just running around. Running around the normal way is not swag, unfortunately.
It's not. But getting VC level 3 and going for Copied City, I think is pretty swag. So we're going to be going up to mansplaining here. He's going to be trying to clip out on that cube on top of the big boy cube, which, okay, I think that you need to hold down the dash a little bit more when you have VC3, if I'm not mistaken, because you don't actually go as... This is a very difficult thing to do with... Oh, he almost got it. Oh, come on.
Come on. Contract level 3.
Maybe a little bit more height?
For a very specific angle, more so than some of the other...
Some desired love, others family.
Yeah, this clip,
only then.
This clip is incredibly stupid with VC3. But Marble did know that going in. He like never. Oh boy, he gets it. He's gonna at least be able to show off kind of what it. Don't. Oh man, he's trying to clip
a little
out
bit
right now.
late to clip.
Yeah, a little bit.
Have I offended you, little android?
That's
why it is so difficult.
Your beloved humans. The truth can be
Is that
I strive to attain nothing less than the essence
am I?
of humanity itself.
What?
We machines exist in a connected network.
Anyways, normally what you do...
Immortal,
Invincible.
I can hear you
And
again.
yet, within all those infinite
No,
bits
go
of
ahead,
data,
go ahead. I keep
there
dropping.
exists not
That's
even
okay.
the
So basically what you do is you clip out of bounds there. You jump in between a rock and a hard place, and you clip through the hard place using that rock. What you do then is then you go over to this elevator, and then you open the elevator, go into the elevator, and then leave. If you stay in that elevator, you actually soft lock.
I have
But
severed
this
my
skips
connection to
some
the
dialogue.
network.
It skips Adam
Now,
doing his big old
let
mansplaining.
us embrace death.
And basically, that's why it's called mansplaining skip. And it's basically just a pod overriding dialogue, and then it skips a phase. There's actually multiple phases to the dialogue, and so you have to do it at a very precise time. After he says only then you jump into the elevator, then jump out, and it skips a whole phase. You kind of wave around for a second, then you're teleported here. First phase of Adam is done, and we're getting into the tasty. Let's get some good combat here, Marble. Myth, if you were there and no longer having technical difficulties, I'm sure chat would love to hear your voice. Okay, it looks like you're still having a little bit of technical difficulty. So basically what he does there, he kills up Adam, finishes things up, and now he's going to mash through some dialogue and then do another dialogue cancel. And right there, that was it. That was your dialogue cancel. He jumps, gets another dialogue cancel, allows him to get through all this stuff just to be able to access this a little bit earlier than normal. Go into the mailbox, read that mail, which is going to get this quest for us, and we're going to be going as quickly as possible over to the factory, which is going to be the hypest section, in my opinion, of what's about to come up. There's skip after skip after skip. We're going to be bouncing in and out of bounds, getting all these triggers, picking up this trigger, picking up that trigger, doing a weird hover warp. It's going to be crazy. If you haven't seen this run before, I will do my best to explain what's going on. But basically, this game has very strict triggers, and so we're going to need to pick up certain triggers to progress. But the way we're going to do that is going to be interesting. We're going to be picking up most of them from out of bounds to respawn at another place that's super high up in the factory, and that allows us access to all of these other places where we need to get triggers from. I'll explain all that. I promise it'll make more sense when you can actually see it. It's kind of a weird thing to try and visualize, but for now he's just trying to get over to Pascal very quickly, which is in front of the elevator.
Sounds good.
And then we're gonna probably see a little bit of what we like to call the pantsu strat. All right. This is pantsu strat. Basically, what it is you try to look at 2B's upper thighs, very tip top of her thighs, and she kind of pushes the camera away and does a little step forward. And it is said, it has been theorized that it is slightly faster than the slow walk that she's in this section. Mostly it's just for swag.
It certainly does.
What's that, Myth?
I was just reiterating that it's slightly faster, especially in this sort of section. We're really just sort of waiting for things to happen around us.
I wonder if Marbles is going to do his old SD strat. Looks like he is. Man of the people. Giving the stream some fan service. Also, this actually does serve a purpose of getting rid of small recoveries if he accidentally picked up any small recoveries, and it just makes menuing a little bit quicker, just making sure that he doesn't have any small recoveries. That's what it was originally for, by the way.
That's the purpose.
Okay, so he's going to open up a dialogue with Pascal, because there's normally a dialogue in this elevator. This is actually found very recently. There's normally a dialogue in this elevator, and it won't load until that dialogue ends, so this saves 6 seconds just by talking to Pascal. I don't know why he's looking at the ceiling. Oh, yeah, to do the dash swinging.
So that way he can just dash swing through the area and Marbles
so-
forever being a lewd runner.
Lewd runner. But so one thing we mentioned earlier, but basically what happened there was he turned the camera away from enemies, and if the camera doesn't see an enemy, it won't auto lock on for you. But right now we're going to get into the first skip of many insanely crazy skips. He's just going to clip out of bounds here. Goodbye. Despawn the mooks, and the mooks in this are what we call the enemies in this room, and that allows us to get this elevator. Up next is some crazy stuff that I think Myth will talk about the next couple things.
Sure. So now that Marbles has the elevator activated, he goes down to progress the story here and meet up with 9S. But the thing is that we have a really long run ahead of us if we took the normal path. But we're not interested in taking the normal path. Shout out to Marky for finding this string of skips here. Marbles is going to void out of the room that he's in and respawn the instance of the elevator, essentially. That's going to make it so that way he can go back up to the room that we just came from, which is very, very high above the deep factory area, conveniently. So, again, clipping out on the pipes there, he's able to get out of bounds and position himself so that way he can prepare to drop down and collect a trigger that he needs. So he's going to plunge down and hold self-destruct to prevent him from doing the belly flop animation, as 2B does when she starts to fall for too long. That's going to make it so that way he can control her fall to jump at the precise moment when he gets the trigger that he needs. Looks like he had a little bit of a hiccup there staying out of bounds, but he's able to clip back out and basically finish out the deep factory area in lightning speed.
That's
very, very nice skip.
That skips a lot of stuff. And it, yeah, Marbles, the homie, slowing down so that we can explain. Notoriously difficult for the commentators to keep up with what's going on. You definitely have to go into auctioneer mode when you're explaining that skip. You got to be going off. You got to be talking way too fast, and it ends up just making you really tired, especially if you're doing solo commentary. So, you know, Myth and I are both appreciative, Marble. Thank you for your definitely purposeful spaghetti.
That was a specific audio cue I was listening to there as Marbles jumped up to the bridge there. Fortunately, oh, that's a butt. But,
oh, you might need
very
to
specific
refresh.
thing that I was listening for and making sure that Marbles didn't actually go over the bridge there and that he stayed inbounds on this side of the bridge. So that way he's able to just hang around and do whatever he wants on the boss here as he waits for the segment to begin. We have seen a previous runner jump too high and jump over this bridge. Unfortunate in a previous race.
And that is a soft lock. I know a lot about soft locks, and that is a bona fide soft lock. So he's most likely he's either timing it himself or he's waiting for the audio cue. But basically, there goes that shield. He's just gonna burst down ball number 1, which is what I affectionately call this boss, and then the next boss is ball number 2. And he's just gonna melt this boss. This boss, the main thing you want to make sure that you don't do is break a leg, which he didn't break a leg. He gets that instant kill. Boom, and we're done. Super fast boss. Thank you. Double damage glitch, purchase contract level 3, and some attack chips. I actually am not entirely sure if he got crits or not, but honestly, I think that Marbles is going to be going for some pretty cool stuff. I'm curious if he's going for this next skip or not. It's not something that a lot of runners do go for. It only saves about 6 to 8 seconds. I'll be interested to see if he goes for it or not. Nope, looks like he's not. He's just going to dash swing. There is a clip out that you can do there to skip all this kind of movement around here, but one thing that I like to point out personally is how this run kind of comes full circle. We're pretty much nearing the end of the run, and the last glitch that we do is one of the very first ones that we do. I freaking love that. This string of skips, these, you know, going out of bounds next to the lava here, I love that it is basically, it's like the same string as what we do in Prologue. So the run kind of comes full circle, and we end up doing the same glitches or skips that we did at the beginning, at the end. And that is the last clip out of bounds that we do in this run, and I think that's really cool.
Are we nearing the run?
We are nearing the end of the run.
What about you?
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know if like there was a thing in we're at 123.
Spoken.
Say again?
We've got the boss rush still. We've finished ball 1. Is your stream working?
It should be working. Marbles is crossing the overpass to get to the City Ruins area. Unfortunately, missing on a little bit of swag there on the barricades there.
Why are their numbers
Getting
increasing like this?
a nice plunge. Unfortunate
Try contacting
for
the bunker
Marbles.
via laser relay system.
There is a kind of, if you remember that really weird rock physics from earlier that allowed us to slip and slide, there's one on that bridge that we can use that just looks really cool.
I believe that's dubbed the Archulax swag.
That's correct.
But now that the resistance camp is burning, we gotta take out some machines in here. This place is too hot. We gotta put out the fire. And unfortunately we just have to take out these machines in the back area. And it seems like Marbles did not mute his Streamlabs like he said he would.
Oh, getting a nice little notification. Congratulations, Marble, on the new sub. I think. Congrats, Marble. Anyway,
making short work of those machines there. Marbles is going to make his way onto the next boss here, known as Bokushi.
or Ball 2.
Or Ball 2.
It'll catch on eventually. Literally no one else but me says that, but it'll catch on. Just been saying that for a year and it's never caught on. Ooh, getting some juicy crits right off the bat. Wow, look at, oh my god, damage!
Oh, that's pretty saucy right there. Taking his health down all the way before the electricity even lets up is some crazy damage that you would only really see the likes of in other categories that don't use the same chipsets as we do in A ending. But making swift work of Bokushi, moving on to Core 1 here. What else is Marbles gonna do? He's gonna rip through this boss just like he did the previous.
Oh my god, his damage!
Those crits are happening.
Damage.
Those crits are happening at the right moments, and that's all that Marbles needs them to do. Fortunately,
That's
the wave of crits is upon us here for Marbles. Let's see if it lets up at all. Hopefully, a torrent of crits happen for the rest of this here.
Can you hear me?
He's already passed his PB, but that doesn't mean that he can't have a decent
Marbles.
run. Alright, so what he's going to use that camera manipulation that we've talked about before to make sure that he doesn't lock onto any of these enemies so that he can... Marbles has a higher field of view than most of the players, so that didn't quite get parallel enough to the bridge there. He's going to be coming over here to take out some more enemies. As I said, this is... Oh my... Marble. Anyway, he's going to be coming over here. Getting... killing these enemies as quickly as he possibly can, utilizing all of those, you know, the beast. Jesus, he is just melting through these enemies. And so now Core 2 pops up out of the ground. He's gonna kill Core 2. This is the second to last boss, and then there's a four-phase boss coming up.
I believe Marbles might be aiming to 0 cycle, but he might not get it there.
Also, doing a little SD there to get a little bit of a dialogue skip with 9S, and now he's going towards Eve. If you remember Eve from earlier, he's a very angry boy, and we just killed his brother, so he's understandably upset with us. Basically, we're going to go into a 4-phase boss fight, and it's going to be action, action, action. And if Marble's damage output in these past couple fights is indicative of anything, this is going to be a crazy fast fight.
Everything must die!
I'm curious if Marbles will actually incorporate some of the newer strategies into the 3rd phase of this fight here. We'll see a little bit later here, but the damage output of this higher level sword. That was kind of close there. Good usage of slow-mo on the boss to make sure that Marbles did not end up getting a attack known as platforms, but Marbles is one of the runners who does not actually do phase 2 skip, so he's just going to damage down the boss again once the boss is at full HP. He could have otherwise kept the boss at below maximum HP in order to skip the phase 2, and still making swift work there, almost losing no time.
Almost, yeah.
It is in line with that dialogue there, so depending on when that dialogue happens is when the next phase transitions. And we'll see here, now that Eve is in phase 3, Marbles is going to be taking good advantage of his melee attacks there, going up and punching the boss whenever he can, but the thing is that I'm kind of hoping he's looking for a specific damage threshold.
Yeah, it's at... and he gets it.
Because Marbles was level 20 there, he got the boss down to a specific threshold that, because his self-destruct actually deals enough damage at level 20, he didn't need to damage the boss any further in phase 3. So once Marbles self-destructed, directly underneath the boss, he was able to deal enough damage to the boss to transition directly into phase 4 seamlessly.
Alright, and this part is unfortunately
nice
RNG. Eve actually not being horribly mean. He can get really far away. That's pretty good RNG. It is going to be a 130...
Eve detached from the network.
Like 10?
I believe so, if what I'm looking at is accurate.
6?
I can always reload my backup data from the bunker.
Trying to think of...
But you'll lose you.
Yeah, like
The
130.
unit
Should be
exists at this very moment.
definitely
But we can't.
low 130.
This corrupted data
I know Marbles was aiming to go for sub 130.
No, it's like 15. Yeah, 130, 15. Alright, you know,
Please, Tubi.
regarding
I want you
VC3 having the issues with those clips, that's pretty good. You know, going for some swaggier stuff.
Oh, hi.
Hey, Marvel.
Hi. Just kind of ignore the sub words. I forgot. I forgot to turn those off. Oops.
It's alright, I made sure to congratulate you on your new subs.
Oh, man. Yeah, that run was, I don't quite know what I did wrong on Roller Coaster, to be honest. I don't know what happened. Because I don't think I missed any triggers there. I don't know why, unless I somehow reset
the first one, I thought.
I had a feeling you had missed the first one, but because you had killed the tank, then it might have fixed the trigger once you had passed by Let's Play again. But it could have also been returning to the tracks again after having called the coaster. I'm not too sure on the consistency of actually plunging down under the tracks in order to get the trigger. I've never done it personally, but I've seen that work out very rarely.
Yeah, it usually works for me, except for lately. But then again, you know, I haven't really been running this game for a while, so.
Yeah, for me it was. I'd have to, get an expert, but the first dash swing off the rails looked slightly off to me, but
Maybe.
I'm not sure. But yeah, I personally like to ask 2 questions. I like to get that
Okay.
one out of the way first. What do you have anything in that run that you were particularly disappointed with? You feel like you wanna make sure you get right next time, or do slightly better, or anything like that?
I mean, pretty much the whole run, but if I had to be picky and choosy, Roller Coaster was bad. Obviously, my copied city was terrible, but
that's
to be expected with VC3. It's kind of weird. I was like, yeah, I'll just try it a couple times. If I don't get it, then whatever. And then mansplaining was kind of... I like forgot how to do it first with VC3, and then I remembered, but I wasn't getting it, so it took me a little bit.
So
then
the
that was
follow-up...
pretty much the whole run.
Sorry, everyone.
No, you're good.
So then the follow-up is, there's got to be like one thing. There's got to be at least one thing that you felt like you were happy with, you liked what you did, anything like that.
I was really happy with Factory until I clipped back in bounds on the last part.
Yeah, but that wasn't a ton.
What was it? I was happy to not get Eve platforms, even though I had level 20. Usually I get platforms when I'm level 20.
That was actually very close.
Yeah,
in terms of damage output.
I dropped
timing it with the boss's attacks.
I dropped one damage glitch like right at the end, so I didn't think I was actually gonna get it, but I got kind of lucky. I'll be honest.
Surprisingly, even though you didn't make Phase 2 skip happen, you did actually deal a good amount of damage within the time frame for Eve to heal up, and for you to just damage him down completely, that you actually didn't lose too much time as a result.
Yeah, I mean, normally when I do runs, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I usually can get it that quickly, even without the Phase 2 skip, but this time I was just lucky with crits, and
your damage output was your damage output was nuts at the end there. You were getting juicy crits. You're getting that VC3 damage. Jeez, man.
Yeah, my Phase 3 for Eve was kind of annoying. I kept not doing the right damage combo, or getting caught on the terrain and doing a downward heavy instead of a lift, and it was just a mess. But
where are the double hits?
I did get the SD, so we're good.
You need to practice those double hits, Marble.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was something else. What was it? There was something else that was pretty good. Let's see. What was it? Oh, my Beauvoir phase. Well, basically, the entire Beauvoir fight was really good.
Yeah, your
roller coaster.
Your Beauvoir was freaking great. That you took out those hack bots so fast.
Yeah, I'm looking at my splits, and so I lost a minute on roller coaster, but from there I during the fight I saved 5 seconds.
That's pretty good.
So this was a 7-minute split from end of desert to end of Beauvoir, which is not bad.
So assuming you got roller coaster, and assuming that you didn't get VC3 and you got all those skips, what do you think your time would have been, out of curiosity? I know this was kind of you know, with what happened being unfortunate, you did go for VC3 and went for some more fun stuff, but I'm just kind of curious if you have a ballpark what you think.
To be honest with how I'm playing and how my game's been acting, this run was kind of just a test. I don't know if I like it where it is, because I've been having the FPS issues. They were pretty solid throughout, but I had a couple of really bad really bad FPS drops. Like on the way to negotiations, all that weird movement I was doing on the routes and stuff, I was dropping down to like 20 FPS during that. So
I have
no
that
idea
issue
where I
as
was.
well. I have that problem too. You end up doing weird standing heavies and the jump heavies, and you're like, ah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure. I mean, ideally my ballpark would be like 120, 127 with a run like that, but I mean,
Yeah, that's what I
haven't really been playing up to my normal standard, hence why I'm trying to take a break.
All right, so Myth, do you have any questions?
Not at the moment, no, but definitely a good run there from Marbles. Unfortunately, what happened to Unity earlier on in the run, but
very unfortunate.
I didn't even see what happened until
if you are
the
interested,
actually.
Sorry.
Oh, I didn't even see what happened until the end of the run because I just have everything closed except for my game. So I didn't even notice that Unity had issues until I finished.
Unfortunate, but he's still got a loser's bracket, correct?
Yes.
To look forward to. So hopefully we'll see some good play from Unity there. Do you wanna sign off?
I do just want to say something quickly. If my connection can hold for a split second. I believe the commands are in chat, !S for the bracket for this tournament that we've been hosting for the past couple weeks here on Speed Gaming. Definitely check out some of the upcoming matches between the top runners in the winners bracket as well as in the losers bracket. This losers bracket is quite spicy, if I will admit.
Yeah, it's whoo, boy.
But definitely check that out if you're interested. Check out both runners again on their Twitch channels. Cool guys.
Very cool guys indeed.
As well as our channels on commentary.
Yeah, just go to Myths.
Sell yourself.
Well.
You deserve it. You really do. The commentary's hard.
But thank you so much for the run, Marble. Sorry, Unity, for everything that happened. GG, Marble. I'll be interested to see how the rest of your turning life goes, especially with how you've been feeling recently.
I'm probably gonna drop down to losers next round.
Who are you against next round? Do you think?
Fullest.
Oh boy.
Yep.
That's gonna be fun.
The old number 1 versus number 2 US.
Yeah.
At least it was until the Blue Devil came through.
The Blue Devil. No one escapes the Blue Devil. I feel like
I
feel like Blue is just gonna freaking win for some reason.
He's only behind me by like 30 seconds on lead.
And he's climbing. He's climbing.
He's gonna be like, once his new run gets approved, it's like he's only like 30 seconds behind me.
Jeez, that's crazy. Anyway, guys, you mind if I sign off now, or?
Sure.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Tons of crazy, cool, wacky, awesome stuff coming up in the future. You never know what's going to happen in these races. It's a double elimination bracket. Anyone can be sent to losers. The world record holder is currently in losers just because of some mix-ups about some stuff, but not important. Anything can happen. It's going to be a crazy rest of this bracket. If you liked what you saw today, you can follow the runners, do !R at MarbleSoda's or Unity Bhop, Unity_Bhop. You can follow commentary, my illustrious co-commentator Mytherium. Follow him at twitch.tv/Mytherium, or myself at Team Trash App. Thank you so much, Speed Gaming, as always, for hosting us and letting us show off this game that we love and do commentary, which is always fun, and do the run. And thank you so much, Marble, for having a great run to commentate. It's very fun. And thank you so much, Myth, for co-commentating. It's always a really great time.
Thank you.
If you're interested in the speedrun, check out the Discord. There's a link to it on SRDC, I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
SRC, whatever you want to call it, whatever your current colloquialism is. But that's it from us today. We're going to sign off. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it.
Discord.nearspeedrun.com. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by.